All right, I think we're ready to roll.
You're listening to Words Like That with Cole Powell, a storytelling podcast. All right, folks, this is Words Like That. I'm Cole Powell. I'm still officially on Christmas vacation, but I just got back from seeing A Complete Unknown, which is the new Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet and directed by James Mangold. And I want to do a quick review here. I'm going to do this off the cuff. I have no notes here, and maybe in the next couple of days get a little bit more polished written review up on my recently launched Medium page. That's medium.com at @SColePowell. The movie is really, really good. Based on the trailer, I was expecting no less. James Mangold, great director. He's already directed one of the greatest, if not the greatest, musical biopic of all time with Walk the Line. He does a great job directing this. Timothée Chalamet, as we saw in the trailer, embodies Bob Dylan. There are very few times on screen where you realize, like, oh wait, this isn't Bob Dylan, this is Timothée Chalamet. Most of the time, though, you completely buy him as Bob. Even vocally, and his guitar playing was spot on. There were points where, as an early Bob Dylan fan, I couldn't hear the difference between Timothée Chalamet and the original studio recordings, which was great. And there were other times where you could hear, okay, that's not Bob, but still, he sold it, he nailed it. The rest of the cast, absolutely spectacular. You had Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, did a great job. You had Elle Fanning as Bob's girlfriend, who in the movie is named Sylvie. Her real name was Susie, but it was changed for the movie at Bob Dylan's request. It's what I read. You had Monica Barbaro, I think is the actress name, from Top Gun Maverick, playing Joan Baez. She did an incredible job. Boyd Holbrook, who I know has collaborated with James Mangold at least twice before. There may be other collaborations that I'm not thinking of or don't know about. So obviously, James Mangold really likes working with Boyd Holbrook. And he played Johnny Cash in this, and he did an absolutely incredible job. I won't say he was better as Johnny Cash than Joaquin Phoenix was in Walk the Line, but I will say there were times where he embodied Johnny Cash more than Joaquin did. He had maybe more of a bit of Johnny Cash vibe than Joaquin did. Really, really impressive performance. The 60s setting was great. They nailed it. And it actually covered a 4-year period from 1961 to 1965 of Dylan's career, which I wasn't expecting based on the trailer. From the trailer, I thought maybe this was just going to be like the early Greenwich Village beginning, and that was really just the beginning of the movie, and then they moved quickly from that, which I thought was great because we got to hear every major Bob Dylan song and a couple of minor ones from that period. And again, as somebody who loves that era of Dylan, it was absolutely fantastic. And with Chalamet delivering some great renditions of those songs. The plot, the way they pulled the historical elements from Dylan's life from this period and constructed it into a coherent narrative. Really great job all the way around. The movie was good. It was really, really good. But it wasn't quite upper echelon musical biopic like Walk the Line that I mentioned previously, like Ray, the Ray Charles biopic, or even something like maybe Love and Mercy, the Brian Wilson biopic. And I think what prevented it from really reaching those heights is it's probably the most interesting part of Dylan's life that they took, and they did, again, great job with making it a coherent narrative, but it's just not as interesting as, say, Johnny Cash's life or Ray Charles's life or even Elvis, which I wasn't a big fan of the Elvis movie, but I know a lot of people were. A lot of people liked it, and I get why it was so appealing. In addition to Austin Butler's performance, which was incredible, it also had so much meat because Elvis was such a character and had such an interesting life. And I feel like this movie is made more for people like me who just love musical history, love music from that era, love Bob Dylan music in particular. But I don't think there's enough there to really have the broad kind of appeal that some of those other movies that I mentioned have. I do think maybe Timothée Chalamet may be able to bring some audience in because he does have a huge fan base, so it will kind of have a broad appeal just because of its star, but not because of its material. Again, though, I love the movie. Thought it was really well done. I was fascinated seeing all these different parts of Dylan's life, all these different characters, real life characters from his life come to life on screen. I'm not sure if that's going to be accessible to a mainstream audience in the way that those other musical biopics that I mentioned were. One thing that I will say, I'm not 100% sure what message we're supposed to take away from the movie. The way James Mangold made the film, this is a bit of a spoiler alert, the climax is at the 1965 Newport Festival, which is where Dylan debuted Electric and caused a big stir. The way James Mangold presented the story is that by Dylan doing that, he once and for all let it be known that he was not going to let anybody control him or dictate to him what kind of music he was going to be or what kind of artist he was going to be. But in doing so, he also killed the 1960s folk revival movement. And I'm not sure if it's just supposed to be, let us make our own decision. Was that a good thing or not? Or if we're supposed to actually think, well, he shouldn't have done that, because Dylan really comes off as a jerk in doing that, because he very much betrays Pete Seeger. He betrays a whole bunch of his fans, and it makes him look really bad. And I feel like we're supposed to kind of think, maybe he shouldn't have done that. Maybe he should have stuck with the acoustic folk just for that one performance to keep the movement going, or to not alienate his fans, or to not alienate his friends, his supporters, to be nice to them. The way it seems to be cut, but at the same time, Dylan is clearly the protagonist of the picture, and we're also supposed to be rooting for him to be his own artist. And since we know what happened after that, all the music that he made after that, can we really sit here and say, well, no, he shouldn't have acted like that. He shouldn't have gone electric at that festival. So again, I'm not 100% sure what James Mangold and company are trying to say with the message, or they're just presenting it in this way and let us make up our own minds. But again, overall, really enjoy the picture. If you love musical biopics, Dylan, folk music from this period, or just good acting, because the acting in this is absolutely incredible, I recommend going to see it. If you've already seen it, let us know in the comments what you thought of it. You can also check out the article version. I should have it up in a couple of days within this video coming out on medium.com at @SColePowell. That's free to read. And that's going to wrap up this episode. I'm going to try to get one more episode out before the beginning of next year, but if not, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.
Can't have no words like that.
Theme, Words Like That by Cole Powell. Lead in by Ryan Purser. From Wicked Woman by Four Way Stop. Original cover photo by Kelly Bagwell. Recorded at Randomine Records. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.